Hey y'all, my name is Ashley Ella Jones, and I will be doing my presentation on TouchMath as it is the program that I use within my school system. The purpose of this presentation was to research and share knowledge on the TouchMath program, to include ties to ethical practices as well as connections to evidence-based practices and the National Autism Center, or the lack of evidence. Through reading Jensen's article on connections to Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences and Eric Jensen's brain-based learning, I learned that it is a multi-sensory approach to teach math skills and concepts within the classroom. The prerequisites for TouchMath include oral and counting strategies, and the methodology behind TouchMath presents itself throughout each level or skill that is being taught. We learn throughout our education in undergrad and grad school about Howard Gardner's theory on multiple intelligences and how we as educators should teach the way our students think and how they learn to best benefit them in the educational setting. As teachers, we administer interest surveys, including the multiple intelligence surveys, and a variety of forms of inquiries to best understand each child's individual needs for educational success within our classrooms. TouchMath encompasses a multitude of those educational needs throughout the program. Kinesthetic learners' needs are met through the tactical numbers. Students can state the number and touch each touch point on the number as they count to correlate the touch points to the numeral. The touch points add a visual and make the number palpable, which increases the learner's ability to comprehend the value of the numeral. This also meets the needs of visual and auditorial learners as they are able to visually see and hear as they work through the intervention lesson. All students within the educational setting can benefit from the visual clues and hands-on activities. The problems and answers during interventions are repeated aloud to reinforce auditory practice and provide repetition, which is connected to stages of brain-based learning. Dr. Vinson from our very own Athens State University in Alabama wrote an article in connections to Jerome Bruner with cognitive stages of development and how it connected with TouchMath and the implementation process within the classroom. Bruner wrote the 3 stages of cognitive development of children to be concrete, pictorial, and symbolic. The research concludes the evidence of the connection with Bruner's 3 stages to that of the TouchMath program. In the next slides, we'll look at picture of table and charts. The concrete stage is within the beginning stages of TouchMath implementation. The teacher presents and practices hands-on manipulatives within the intervention, providing the students the ability to hold and touch the concrete visual within the first stage of Bruner's theory. As the student progresses and develops cognitively, the teacher moves into the pictorial stage, where the touch points are marked on paper with a numeral, and finally connected to Bruner's 3rd stage of symbolic, the teacher transitions to the number without touch points that represents the amount. Figure 1 and Figure 2 on this slide is in connection to Dr. Vinson's research connection to Bruner's cognitive development theory with the 3 stages of concrete, pictorial, and symbolic. Figure 1 breaks down the 3 stages of Bruner's cognitive development within TouchMath. The concrete, again, is when students can touch and point out 3 dots. The pictorial is when the students can see a picture of the 3 dots, and then when they move into symbolic, the students can write and read the shortcut form of the symbol 3. Figure 2 in Vinson's research further concludes the evidence between concrete, pictorial, and symbolic through the 3 dots cut out of paper as concrete, a piece of paper with 3 dots drawn on it as pictorial, and then the numeral that symbolizes an amount, which is the number 3. Dr. Vinson's research article also made connections between TouchMath with Piaget's 4 developmental stages. The sensory motor stage of learning by senses and movement is correlated with the touch points used within the TouchMath program as they allow the students to participate in a hands-on tactile approach using their senses and movement. The pre-operational stage, where children process language as a mode of learning, is correlated through the repetition of effective statements during the TouchMath interventions of the computation strategies taught within each lesson. The 3rd stage within Piaget's developmental is the concrete operational stage, where children engage in logical thinking with mathematical strategies given manipulatives and correlated with the process of the learner's classroom manipulatives to the touch points on the numeral taught within the TouchMath program. The formal operation stage is the final stage as children move from the concrete to more symbolic problems, which is seen as the students progress and the teacher starts to decrease the implementation of using touch points, progressing to only using symbolic notations within the mathematical computation. I found another article that was completed this year in 2021 on using TouchMath to teach money identification to students with autism spectrum disorders. There were 3 students with autism who were provided intervention with TouchMath money to determine its effectiveness. The students were in middle school. 2 of the students showed intervention effectiveness of the implementation of TouchMath. The 3rd student had some challenging behaviors which did impede the further study of effectiveness, but in conclusion within the article and research, 2 out of 3 of the students showed the intervention with TouchMath was effective on solving money identification. There was an article in 2019 conducted on an investigation of the effectiveness of TouchMath on mathematics achievement for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities. It was concentrated on students with significant cognitive disabilities, and the researcher acknowledged that TouchMath had limited research on the effectiveness of the TouchMath program implementation. The study was completed to establish if the implementation of TouchMath strategies within an intervention would be effective with students who have significant cognitive disabilities. The interventions completed within the study were compared to the Council for Exceptional Children standards for classifying the evidence base of practices in special education. The interventions and studies took place in the school setting. The results confirmed that TouchMath has shown to prove to be effective with students who have significant cognitive disabilities, and the students made substantial progress in mathematical accuracy with single-digit addition computation, furthering evidence that the TouchMath program is an effective intervention for mathematical skills. In comparison to students with severe cognitive disabilities, I wanted to further my research and review on the effects of the teaching mathematical computation to at-risk students and students with disabilities. Through this article completed in 2017, the two main questions was, does TouchMath provide students who are at risk or have disabilities with effective instruction to improve their computational skills, and what student population has the TouchMath literature included? The literature collected and reviewed within the article concluded that TouchMath should be considered as an evidence-based practice used for implementation and teaching to increase math computation skills for students who are at risk or have disabilities. The collective literature review supports and promotes TouchMath as an evidence-based practice, as it did provide multi-sensory learning opportunities that do not require memory retrieval of arithmetic facts, and has proven to be effective within the educational setting. I wanted to further my research for the presentation on students outside of the United States and other countries. I found an article that was completed in Taiwan on students in the elementary age area of underachieved students in 2013. It was completed to determine the learning effect on elementary age underachieved students, and there were 3 students in this study who were in 2nd grade. The study had an independent variable being TouchMath and dependent variable being learning effects and students' recollection of the skills taught within the TouchMath program. They had a baseline stage to determine where the students were performing, and then moved into the instructional stage of implementation of the TouchMath program and ended with a maintenance stage. The conclusion of the study was TouchMath could improve underachieved students' academic performance within adding and subtracting, and it could furthermore improve the computation fluency and accuracy while changing the students' attitude in regard to math instruction. Dr. Hill recommended a review of the articles about TouchMath for my presentation, and I found it very beneficial, and I also found it intriguing that the information within this research had also included work by Dr. Vinson, who I used previously in the presentation to review. The purpose of the study within this article was to analyze the studies used in the TouchMath program as intervention and its effectiveness on student growth. The international databases were scanned for this study. They found and used 27 articles that they used to analyze according to their specified research models. In this study, they concluded the multisensory hands-on teaching activities within TouchMath program were effective for students with special needs, especially in the areas of number sense and 4 operations. Multisensory instructional tools were more effective on student progress compared to traditional instructional methods that were not effective in teaching the mathematical skills. In this table, you can see that the 27 articles provided 3 different scientific methods to include 11 articles of experimental studies, 12 articles of single case studies, and 4 articles of qualitative studies. Table 3 breaks down each article, showing the number of participants, the type of disability, the model that was used, the dependent variable, and the results. In conclusion, majority of the results were effective or more effective. In Table 5, you will see the 4 articles where they show qualitative research model, where the researchers laid out a meeting with the teachers and asked the teachers' views about the TouchMath program and its using its treatments within their classrooms. 3 out of 4 of the people in the articles stated that TouchMath is useful, and the 4th one stated that it was effective as it was less time. The NAC website provides the following information on established treatments, emerging treatments, and unestablished treatments. It is with the evidence provided in this presentation and literature used within the studies in conjunction with peer reviews that I feel TouchMath is an emerging treatment. The evidence and effectiveness of the intervention used on students who are underachieved and/or have disabilities is becoming more and more each year, with results showing the program to be effective in improving student skills. In order to tie the TouchMath program to ethical standards within my presentation, I wanted to further discuss that as educators, we have to match the interventions we practice within our classroom instruction to our students' demographics to ensure the research-based program we implement is effective to best meet our students' educational needs. The previous data presented pertaining to students with intellectual disabilities, specific learning disabilities, and autism matches the demographics of my students within my small group instruction where the TouchMath intervention takes place.